Right folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join us in the beautiful, wild, remote landscape of Scotland. Today we're joined by Highlander 87 on this adventure, and today we're away to head up a track that we've never been on before on the channel, and that's what we absolutely love. We're basically right up at the top of Glenila in the lands. I think there's a wee road goes up to like the Tulchan and Ochavan. But we're wanting to basically punch on up this path that we've never been and just see if there's any history and abandoned places we've never seen. And I think we kind of need to head up to that gate there, head along through. Yeah, look, this is why we came here. I remember one adventure before we came the opposite way across here and we noticed this. So I was thinking maybe there's some actual abandoned history or old crofts or stuff along this path somewhere. We're obviously not going the full 16 miles, but yeah, the Scottish Rights of Way Society, it said there. So, yeah, I think there's a proper track like along where that skip's kind of sitting at the top of the hill, and it looks like it goes right around to this wild land. Sorry Highlander, I was right in front of him there with the camera. Look at this scene of Scotland, folks, in front of us. It's so cool with this high mountainous cliffs on the left hand side, and look at this abandoned bridge. This is the River Isla, I believe, coming down here. Just check it out. You never know what you're going to see on this channel. Just think about crossing that old rickety bridge. Wow, the River Isla's taking it out, and we're basically punching on further. I think there could be some abandoned history or things we've not seen up this track. And this is the closest thing we've got to a main road. Even the area that I parked in today down there, it's proper rough. I think the river water can rise so high. Yeah, that's an interesting bit there, eh? Oh, that would have been up at this height and the whole riverbank's fallen away. What a crazy spot. What a scene.
This has destroyed the bridge in the process.
Check it out, folks, we've punched on further up the road now, probably a mile or so, maybe more, and we noticed this old wall line. We were thinking maybe there'd have been an old croft or something here. It's incredible to see the wild hilltop landscape, and there's wee waterfalls and stuff coming down. We're kind of all the way around the other side of this cliff-like hill now as well, and we're just pushing on to see what is up this road. It's mad coming into these lands that we've never been. There's so many waterfalls and stuff coming off these hills. Old tracks, and this river's just meandering its way through it. But these walls have probably been put in like the 16 or 1700s, maybe even older. And it's crazy to imagine the land back at that time. Sometimes that's the times when the wild glens like this was actually brought back from nature and the land was drained for the fields. That's when some of these ditches and dikes were first built and constructed. So this scene in front of us, folks, this is a scene we've never had on the channel before, and I'm always just taking it in as I walk around. I'm always just keeping my eyes peeled for wee nuggets or corners of Scotland that we've never documented. I'm blown away with the vastness and the way that it just looks mad with the clouds going over the top of the hills. And there's all these, it must be like waterways and stuff coming down, carving the lands. Sometimes they look like little hills not so far away, and once you start trying to walk towards them or around them, you realise how massive and vast this landscape is in Scotland. And this is literally crazy, because this would have been what a lot of main roads looked like in Scotland at one time. This would have probably been like cutting across the countryside. A lot of folk would have gone on foot back in the day. Look at this cool little vehicle. Probably an estate vehicle or one of the locals. Perfect for these conditions, off-roading over these lands. Yeah, what is even going on up here, eh? This is a massive valley. I haven't recorded too much coming up here, but it's much of the same. We've just been kind of hiking through this, and it's cool just to throw the camera on when we see something cool. And yeah, we're not even sure how far this road goes or anything. I was saying to Highlander it'd be cool just to have a look and see what's like round this corner, but then as soon as we get around the corner I'm always like, oh, we could have a look a wee bit further. So it's like one of those adventures. We're just keeping our eyes peeled. Look, that's such a scene there, eh, with the water coming down. Then there's quite a nice house I think up through there. It's a pure paradise landscape to live in. Look at this, folks. This landscape right here is serious landscape. Check out the height of these cliffs with the clouds over them. we've just kept punching on up this track, and I can actually see there looks like there's been remains of an old croft or something down by the river, or some sort of stone boundary. So I was just saying to Highlander it'd be cool just to push up to that and then see what it is, because we've walked so far. We didn't obviously want to be walking all the way to Braemar, like 16 mile, because we need to make it back. And it is actually rainy today as well. We've been kind of dodging rainstorms, but it's just a madness to see this, folks. The vastness and the size of these cliffs, it just gets me hyped. Scotland is just incredible often when you go on these wee adventures, and if you go up a road you've never been on, it's just all so new. Sometimes these different glens, they look like different countries. And then look at this view behind us as well. The whole area, it is actually raining right this second, and that's how it looks, that hazy kind of misty way. So I always promise you the coolest of scenes on the channel, folks, and this is one of them. Look, here's an old signpost. Look at the view behind it up the valley. Look at that, that's a proper cast iron signpost. It's far enough up here that somebody hasn't nicked it like they did with the one down at like the Cartertons and stuff. The Scottish Rights of Way put this in. And wow, yeah, look, we're a way to punch on. I'm thinking there was remains of some old building or whatever down here. But this is truly a land we've never been. Look at the track now, folks. This is the track. The grass is actually growing on it. It's far less used. And this is the kind of wee valleys in Scotland that you get. It's the lower lands of the Scottish Highlands. And it's crazy to walk about in it. This is like a scene from a movie. Here it is right on the channel, folks. You know how it is, and I'm always blown away standing in the middle of this stuff. Here, see right at the far end of that valley. Do you see that? We've just spotted some, folks. But it's too far probably to walk to. There's like a remains of like a wall or whatever, but it's maybe not even remains of a wall. That's what our adventures are all about, folks. You know it. Shout out to all the subscribers and all the people that gets in the comments as well. I often forget to do it, and this is a perfect opportunity in the video midway. Look at this, I'm always just mind blown when I look around. Like that looks like the craziest of paintings. Up here in the high glens, the grass is still pretty yellow at this time of year. The light green grasses of the coast haven't grown up this far in the lands. Look at this, folks, we're in the heart of the Highlands and we're actually crossing, this is a waterfall, it comes down off the highest hill. And look, this track continues on. These walls here are the ones I could see, and I was thinking it looked like it'd been some sort of remains of a croft. Oh, I should have headed this way. Whoa, this is the wildest of lands, folks. Yeah, there's definitely been something here at one time built. That dry stone dike leads right up the side of the waterfall.
That'll probably be fresh water.
Yeah, that'll be the freshest of water. You could drink that, no bother. Because there's probably no any dead sheep or nothing lying up there. That would probably be about the worst thing that could be, if anything. See, at one time, these dry stone dikes have gone right up this hill. The people that built them, often markers for old boundary lines or the edge of people's land originally. Look at this is what I was suspecting used to be something, or a building. Because look at how many wall lines is in this one area. Whoa, I totally slipped on the rock, folks. In my mind I was just a way to step onto the rock. In reality I went flying over the rock. Yeah, look at this here, there's clearly been something built. Maybe like a wee building for animals or sheep. Here, do you think we should have a look and see if the road pushes to there or no? It's just typical of our adventures, folks. We always see a bit of history and then we're like, oh, there's another bit, or there's a crazy thing. There's a duck flying up past, look. Check it out, folks, we're actually approaching the higher glen. We've pushed on further up the path. Highlander actually flew his drone because we thought there's no point in walking up here if it's not a piece of history. But what we actually saw on the drone was absolutely incredible, and I thought it's worth coming up here to document, folks. So here we are, punching on further up the path. There is actually a pyramid right here, folks, and that's what we're about to see. This here on this little grassy mound in front of us, in front of this massive mountainscape, there's actually a wee stone pyramid. So when we noticed it, for probably like a mile and a half down there. We've just basically pushed on up to here, and it is crazy making the most of these adventures, dodging the rainstorms and coming into lands like this. Look at the way the clouds are over the top of those cliffs. It is just the craziest of places. This is literally the only road up through this massive landscape. I just think there's probably no other humans like for a good few miles all around us right now. And that is crazy that you can get such remote, desolate landscapes in Scotland. Anyway, let's take a look at the pyramid. Here it is, from miles away we spied it, folks. I need to sort out the windsock actually. The wind's blowing through here so strong, and I do apologise for that in today's audio. Check it out, folks, the pyramid with this incredible view behind it. Look up this wild hill, and we've just basically walked up here. The weather's actually getting more stormy in this last 10 seconds or so. Whoa, there's huge cliffs up there with the clouds like rolling off behind them. And what a crazy place this is to make it to. Look, it's like benches or seats that somebody's put in. Oh look, 1852. There you are, folks, 1852. There's a name above there, but it's hard to see. Whoa. So it's like a memorial of some sort, or a marker on the land. Oh, it's so much less windy. Look at this. Big Scottish slug. This is his house and his habitat up here in this land. Check it out, folks. Wow. That track keeps on going up there, but we'll have to save that for another day. We've walked so far, and it is actually raining, but we've just persevered and pushed on, and it's so cool. Coming out into these places where there's no houses, no roads, just remains of what may have been old farm croft buildings and little bits like this. It literally is like a pyramid here, folks, and you can see it. It's the pyramid here of Glen Isla, or what would this be, Glen Shee. Wow, folks, I'm getting all angles here so I can do a thumbnail clip. I shouldn't stand in front of it. Wow. I was going to get the drone up when I came here, but it really is just too windy. The conditions are extreme out here on this hill. Wow, what a scene that is. In these mountains, it's like something from Hogwarts or Harry Potter. Maybe Lord of the Rings or Braveheart, folks. It's just the lands we explore and the history we see. 1800s pyramid built here on the hill, and on such a wild hill. Whoa, I do apologise, I have said it for that wind. Just check it out. I'm getting proper blown around. I'm definitely not going to be able to fly the drone. Highlander got a window of opportunity. He was able to fly his when he investigated what this was. We were a mile away down the glen and we could see this. That's why it's been so cool to punch on up. The weather's getting more extreme by the second, so we're no hanging about. I was just coming back to see this 1852 pyramid, and it's up the road at the top of Glen Isla that heads up to the Tulchan, and then once you pass the Tulchan Lodge you keep going on the road and it goes towards the back hills of Glen Shee in these wild lands. And then it looks like there's more history beyond, folks, but you know how it is on the channel. We can only walk so far in one day, and when the conditions is like this, it's extreme. What a scene. It's built with the stones from the hill. Maybe a place people could have a picnic when they're out for a walk, because it is that special path that we saw, the right of way. And these rights of way have been over the country of Scotland for many years, and just think which characters in Scottish history may have passed across this land over the years. Back in the days of horse and carts and such like, stagecoaches, these lands have not changed very much. To see the pyramid standing in the lands, folks, was the craziest thing. Because we walked so far, I'm just getting it from every angle. Shout out to Highlander, he sticks around for these adventures. When I'm saying like, oh, we'll just go a wee bit further, we'll just go a wee bit further, he's always up for it, and shout out, credit to him. Some folk can't stand walking that far into these environments for the adventure, but we always just find the coolest things when we're out like this, and this is one of them. Wow, what a scene. These hills are so high today we can't even see the top of them. The raindrops are now landing on the lens. Whoa, let's head on, folks. What a madness. What a scene of Scotland once again on the channel. And we've probably got like a 3 or 4 mile walk to get back down to where the car is. I do apologise. Shout out Highlander over here, folks. He's got his own YouTube channel as well. You can check out drone footage and such like of Scotland and some of the areas we go. At Highlander87 is his channel. And then on this channel here, folks, you know how it is. These mad adventures, getting stuck in situations on adventures, coming to see crazy things like this. Abandoned pyramids and lands like this where there's no road. So cool. And that's the wee adrenaline rush of the adventure as well. Look at this here, folks. The dry stone dikes at one time were built right up onto those hills, and just think about the folk building those dikes, marking maybe the edge of their land or their territory at such an ancient time. And back in the olden days, the actual sheep rustlers and stuff used to come over from Braemar, steal the sheep and stuff from Glenisla, then drove them back over through roads like this. And all that went on back in the days of Scottish history. It's cool to remember it with videos like this. Sometimes in these valleys, these massive mounds in the middle is what's left behind after the glaciers ripped their way through the lands. This is all the ground up deposited material at the bottom of the hollow here. Check it out, folks, because of the ferociousness and the heaviness of the rain, you can really see the pyramid standing out against that backdrop. And sometimes when you see the rain, it really gives you an aspect of how big and far these hills and cliffs are. We're proper caught in the heavier rain now, but that's part of being Scottish in these adventures. Sometimes the weather is just against you. Different times of year, it's got advantages and disadvantages, and we always just try and make the most of each situation. But what a madness, folks, a pyramid of all things, like who would have known it? Check out, we're now back down as far as this other historical wonder that we found today, the old croft remains, or the wee building that's been here in the land with this dike line. We could see it for miles away walking up here, and I just thought once again we'll switch on the camera as we walk past. We've just endured a crazy heavy rainstorm out here, folks. It's one of these weekends. We're doing the most to have these adventures and to find new history like this. With this old historical boundary line, it's as cool as finding that old 1800s pyramid on the horizon. And this landscape we've seen today on the video, it's a piece of history, well, a piece of landscape and history here that we had never seen. And I always get the buzz of the explore from that. Look at this, there's a proper like waterfall here to cross. Depends how slippy it is, eh? I have slipped already on a slippy stone. Oh, mad adventures, folks. You know where it's at on the channel. I've got the big hood up, but I could probably take it down now. But right in the middle of this waterfall, I can hardly get the hood down. Yeah, I've got the military coat, but it's not actually the waterproof one. So I'm not sure how wet it'll be. My hoodie and stuff below is not waterproof, but that is what these adventures are all about, folks. Look at this, landscapes, waterfalls, historical wonders, and then the adventure along the way. Punching through the Highland Glen, Glen Shee to Glen Isla on the old tracks and roads. Check out, folks, here's the sign, the footpath to Braemar, and as you've seen from today's adventure, that's the kind of lands it goes through. I love the character, the way they did things with the metal back in the day. And that obviously marks the way of the path. In case anybody got mistaken thinking, am I still going the right direction? Look, there's a big vault up here doing the fencing around the new plantations. Some of this area has been clear felled and then replanted. So there's a few machines been operating, I think. But that's cool with the dual wheels up there. And then the post chopper on the back for pushing the posts into the hill ground. Some of the ground up here has got so much stones in it that getting the posts in the right place can be a bit of a mission. Wow, what a scene in front of us as well. There's just hills as far as the eye can see. Some of them are more extreme, and we've just walked into so many valleys today. The road's kind of been curving round to the right slightly, and we've just been staying kind of at the lower line, like lower level of the glen, with the high hills at each side, following it around. And it's crazy, if we keep going you would get to Braemar eventually, but today we've punched on back down because we've got so far to go in the rain, and that drizzle is kind of on, as you can see from the hills around us. Look at this beast, folks. It's a Volvo digger here, and it must be doing some of the work up in the plantation, maybe moving some of the scrub and some of the wood. They might even use that when they're digging the hole for the tree. That's maybe how he's got the big spikes. They're like big rippers on the bottom of the bucket right there. Cool machine though, folks. Shout out if that's your machine up here on the hill. Yeah, this land, the rain's still on. We're a wee bit further down since the last clip, and we're kind of down at the level of the fresh tree operations. You can see that Valtra probably feel like the last clip way up at the far hill. We've been right away around that corner to that pyramid. From here you can't even tell it's there, and we didn't even know how far we were going to walk. Maybe one day in the future we'll have to make it a whole day thing and punch on further up that road and see if there's anything cool beyond the pyramid. But today's adventure, it's been so cool to see that. Everything we've seen, and the adventure's not over, folks. Check this out. We're still navigating our way back to the wee Kia. There's so many birds and stuff flying about, probably catching those flies and midges. Look at this, folks. We're back at this alpine scene here, looking over this little waterway. I was just thinking, is that an electric fence? It could even be an electric fence for some livestock. Yeah, we're back down to this section of the walk. You may have seen us on the way up, obviously, at this spot. I just thought I would throw the camera on. Because it's been a rainstorm, it's just crazy, folks. I've not even been throwing the camera on as much as normal. And we never know what conditions we're going to get for these adventures. I think that truck thing there is designed for the people that's planting the trees. So it's that same company on the windshield. I'm pretty sure with this adventure, folks, we saw a piece of land from Glen Isla all the way up to the lands of Glen Shee, and that was super cool because I've never actually explored that glen because there's no main road, and I had no idea how far this road would go. Now I'm just reflecting on it. It's crazy just to see that, and to see the vastness of the hills at each side and the cliffs, and the way the road's actually pretty good to walk on as well up the middle of it. It's better than some of the other glens that we've actually been in. The landscape's so open here. We've got no shelter from the rain when it's on. Some glens, obviously, there's a lot of forests or trees, like we discovered at Glen Prosen, but then there was no history to be seen. So to find that little croft today up there, and then also that pyramid, it's just made it worth it. To see the River Isla floating down here as well. The water's proper clear with the River Isla. Probably some of that rainwater making its way down off these hills. But yeah, look, you can see the rain's still on from that hillscape in front of us, all the way around. But like I say, we're out all conditions, all weathers, making these adventures possible. It's so much fun sharing wee corners of Scotland that's hardly seen. I've never seen that pyramid on another YouTube video before, and I had no idea it even existed here. But it's not the only pyramid in Scotland. There is actually another one up at Balmoral Castle that Queen Victoria built as a memorial for her late husband, Edward. That's what that one was for.
Albert.
Is it Albert he called him? Sorry. Yeah, Albert, folks, sorry about that. That's a historical. That's why Highlanders here to correct us. Check this out, folks. Here's the next machine that we're walking past on the adventure. This one's a cat. What a beast. I think it's also doing the fences and stuff here for the plantations. There's a mad amount of that being going on in these lands. But that's how these lands are in Scotland. It's all like gamekeeping or forestry and other things like that. That's what shapes and carves these lands in the Scottish glens. And crazy machines like this are up here for the jobs. Maybe at one time back in the day somebody would have had a barrow and a shovel, but the modern machinery makes that stuff so much easier. Roads like this nowadays maintained as well from machines like that. It's so much easier than back in the day, probably when the old horse and carts and stuff of the drovers and the ancient times. This road would have been in some mess over the land. And it's crazy to think this road's probably changed the least in like 100 or 500 years even, compared to some roads in Scotland which have become main roads through different glens. And it is just coincidence that a glen like this, or a path, was never upgraded to a main road. It would have been a 16-mile road to Braemar from the top of Glen Isla. So we've come a wee bit further down the glen, folks, and we actually just spoke to the gamekeeper who manages these lands, and it actually turns out we know who he is. Shout out Robert. It was good to catch up. I've not seen it. He was actually in our year at high school. We all kind of grew up in the countryside. That was how it was back in the day, and I've known him since back at that time kind of thing. I've not seen him for like 10 years or whatever, and it's cool to know this is the lands that he looks after. And he was actually saying that that pyramid was built by an old laird for his wife, so she could sit. It was built like a pyramid so she could get shelter from the wind and sit. When he was away shooting, she would go up there and sit and do painting or whatever she was doing, and she always had a side that faced away from the wind, as we did when we recorded our few clips up at the pyramid. I was sheltered down behind it, which is pretty cool. And yeah, it was cool to catch up, so shout out. And yeah, we're not even back down to the car yet, folks. You know how our adventures are. So that's been another fair walk, folks, and it was mad I could take the world along through the medium of video once again. It was just crazy walking all that distance, way up around the back of these hills we can see here. There's massive high hills at the back, and we basically punched on right around as far as that crazy pyramid that we had no idea existed. And because of the local knowledge here, we actually found out exactly why it had been built for that laird's wife, to have somewhere she could shelter from the wind, to do her painting and art when her husband was out shooting in the lands. And that's a cool story. In the 1800s that was put in, as we saw from the date on it, and it's been that footpath by Monega Hill to Braemar, 16 miles. We punched on down that track a fair old bit, documented that history along the way, and as we were actually told by the local gentleman there, he was saying that there's ancient Iron Age history in these lands as well, and there is history of Iron Age goings on in these lands, and that kind of ties in with some of the adventures we've had exploring the souterrains and some of those underground labyrinths that we've seen from the Iron Age period. Yeah, and what else was he said? There's just so much history. I was just thinking, if there's any more history to add to this, we should put it in here before the ending, because we're right back down where I parked. This is just an incredible landscape, folks, and I've just loved today's adventure. Once again, we've found history in the craziest of places, and we've been able to tell the story of it, and it's been so much fun. There was a cold wind, and we managed to get through that rain. I'm actually dry again, because it was so long ago we were in that rainstorm. We've probably walked, I don't even know, sometimes it feels like more miles than what it is if you're on these twisty turny paths over that waterfall and stuff. So cool, folks. Anyway, I'm going to end this one here. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll be back soon with the next one, wherever we end up going, into the crazy lands of Scotland.